Blind date disaster. The waitress dropped a note saying, "She's not who you think." The first sign that the night was going to change my life came when my coffee cup started shaking in my hand, not from nerves about the blind date, but from a strange, unexplainable sense of dread. The restaurant lights felt too bright, the background music too soft, and the empty chair across from me looked heavier than it should have, like it was carrying a future I wasn't ready to face. I had come here expecting awkward smiles, forced laughter, and maybe a polite goodbye. What I didn't expect was a single piece of paper that would quietly slide into my world and split it open. A note. A warning. And a truth I never saw coming. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that small moments can change lives forever, take a second to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. I had agreed to the blind date because my life had become too quiet. After my fiancée left 3 years earlier, taking with her not just her suitcase but my confidence, my trust, and my sense of direction, the days blended into each other. Work, home, sleep, repeat. Friends tried to help, but eventually they stopped asking. When my coworker insisted that her cousin's friend would be perfect for me, I said yes out of exhaustion more than excitement. I told myself it was just dinner. One evening. Nothing to lose. The restaurant was one of those places that tried very hard to feel romantic. Dim lights, wooden tables, soft music humming like a distant memory. Couples leaned toward each other, laughing quietly, sharing glances that made me feel like an outsider. I checked my phone again. She was late. 10 minutes became 20. I told myself it was normal. Blind dates are messy. People get cold feet. I ordered coffee to look busy, to look like someone who belonged there. That's when I noticed the waitress. She moved differently than the others, slower, more careful, as if every step mattered. Her eyes scanned faces instead of tables, lingering just a moment too long on each person. When she reached my table, she didn't smile the way waitresses usually do. Instead, her expression flickered with something close to concern. She refilled my water, set the coffee down, and as she turned away, her hand brushed the table. That's when I saw it. A folded napkin, tucked beneath my cup. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a note meant for someone else. I waited until she was out of sight before opening it, feeling strangely guilty, like I was breaking a rule. Inside, written in hurried handwriting, were words that made my chest tighten. The note warned me that the woman I was waiting for was not who I thought she was, that I needed to be careful, that some people wear kindness like a costume. I looked around, suddenly aware of every sound, every movement. My heart pounded, torn between skepticism and fear. Was this a joke? A misunderstanding? Or was someone trying to protect me? I wanted to ask the waitress, but she was already at another table, laughing softly with a family, looking perfectly normal. I folded the note back up and slipped it into my pocket, telling myself not to overthink it. When she finally arrived, she did so with an apology and a smile that could disarm a room. She was beautiful in a quiet way, confident without being loud. She spoke warmly, laughed easily, and asked questions that made it seem like she genuinely cared about my answers. Part of me relaxed. The note felt silly now, paranoid even. Dinner arrived, conversation flowed, and for the first time in years, I felt something close to hope. But small things began to bother me. She spoke often about people who had wronged her, always painting herself as the victim. Her stories were dramatic, filled with betrayals and misunderstandings, and though she laughed while telling them, there was a sharp edge beneath the humor. She asked about my job, my home, my routine, details that felt a little too specific. I brushed it off, telling myself I was just rusty at dating. The waitress returned a few times, each visit brief but heavy with unspoken tension. Our eyes met once, and she looked away quickly, as if she'd said too much already. My food tasted different then, bland and distant. The note burned in my pocket, refusing to be ignored. As the evening went on, my date suggested moving to another place, somewhere quieter. Her tone was casual, but something in her eyes felt urgent. My chest tightened again. I thought of the waitress, the note, the warning. I told her I wasn't feeling well and needed to call it a night. Her smile froze for just a second before returning, wider than before. She insisted, gently but firmly, brushing my arm in a way that felt rehearsed. That was when the waitress appeared again, this time lingering by our table. She asked if everything was okay, her voice steady but her hands trembling slightly. I nodded, unsure what to say. She slipped the check onto the table, but as she did, she leaned closer and whispered something I couldn't ignore. She said she had seen this woman before, many times, always with different men, always leaving them shaken, confused, sometimes crying. She said she didn't know the full story, but she knew enough to be scared for me. Fear has a way of clarifying things. I paid quickly, stood up, and told my date I needed air. She followed me outside, her tone changing, frustration seeping through the charm. I didn't stay to hear more. I walked away, heart racing, the cool night air filling my lungs like freedom. I didn't sleep much that night. Questions spun in my mind, along with gratitude for a stranger who cared enough to warn me. The next day, I went back to the restaurant. I didn't know why exactly. Maybe to thank her. Maybe to understand. She was there, wiping tables, and when she saw me, relief washed over her face. We didn't talk long. She told me she'd been in a similar situation once, trusting the wrong person, losing more than she'd thought possible. She said she watched for signs now, for patterns, and when she saw me sitting there, hopeful and vulnerable, she couldn't stay silent. She said kindness doesn't always look polite, sometimes it looks like interference. Her words stayed with me. In the weeks that followed, I thought a lot about the versions of ourselves we present to the world, the masks we wear, and the quiet heroes who step in when something feels wrong. I started opening up again, slowly. Not just to dating, but to life. I reconnected with friends, took long walks, let myself feel without rushing to hide it. Months later, I ran into the waitress again, this time at a bookstore. We talked longer then, about books, about healing, about how strange it is that one moment can redirect an entire life. There was no rush, no performance. Just honesty. Over time, that honesty grew into something deeper, something built on trust and shared understanding. The blind date that almost broke me ended up saving me, not because it led to love in the way I expected, but because it reminded me that I deserve protection, care, and truth. It showed me that kindness doesn't always come from the people we're focused on, but from the ones quietly watching, choosing to act when it matters most. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of a moment when a stranger's kindness changed your path, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps spread these stories of hope and humanity. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below and share whether you believe that everything happens for a reason, or if you think it's the small, brave choices that shape our lives. Because sometimes, the real miracle isn't love at first sight. It's the unseen hand that gently pulls you back from the edge, reminding you that you are worth saving, even when you don't know it yet.